the New York Times basically said, look, like this guy had a hummingbird tattoo on his neck and a Michael Jordan Jumpman tattoo. Maybe he just loves birds and is a basketball fan. And I just sat there laughing, like, okay, New York Times, okay, lefties, yeah, maybe it's possible, and maybe I like to walk into banks with a ski mask on.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die. All right. Welcome to another episode of Pirate Soldier King. I'm your host, Grace Ann Bennett, with Gregory Roberts, liver of the life and teller of the story, Pirate Soldier King. And we are getting into it today because there's a lot going on in the news with people being basically
Disappeared.
disappeared. This is something that I thought we didn't do in America, but we're disappearing people into El Salvador, into some prisons that they may never get back out of, based on supposed gang affiliation, criminal activity. And a lot of that comes from that tattoos and the clothing that they're wearing as a way to identify them. So forget the court of law. We are just looking at tattoos and clothing, and then we're getting them on a plane and disappearing people. So interesting developments happening right now. And we have Gregory Roberts, who knows a few things about tattoos, clothing, gang affiliations, and might have perspective on what's going on right now and separating truth from fiction, and just really getting into, because I just listened to the
Well,
podcast
let's get
on.
straight into it.
Let's get straight into it. Okay, let's get straight into it. Okay, so where do we even start, Mr. Roberts?
Let's start with the New York Times article, because I love the New York Times. It's my daily read.
This your dog?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's part of the show. We'll bring your dog
It's about New York Times. Down. Hello.
back
We're
to the
back.
New York Times, which I listen to the daily every day.
I had to put him in his house.
Okay, just 1 second.
Edit.
Hold back. We'll be right back.
Thank you for your patience.
All right, we're back. Okay, so let's talk about the New York Times today and what's going on.
Okay. So two of the things they said is, there's a profiling structure in place that has to do with clothing and who you're photographed with and, in a certain sense, tattoos. And yeah, I have a lot of experience with tattoos. Not only, do I have several, but,
Okay, let's see.
well, sure.
Yeah, let's do the show with tattoos showing as many as possible.
All right. There we have it.
All right. Okay, there we got it. Okay, so you do have, just showing the audience that you have some knowledge of tattoos.
Yeah. Most of mine are family, but you might argue that gang is family to a certain culture or parts of the population. And so the New York Times basically said, look, like this guy had a hummingbird tattoo on his neck and a Michael Jordan Jumpman tattoo. Maybe he just loves birds and is a basketball fan. And I just sat there laughing, like, okay, New York Times, okay, lefties, yeah, maybe it's possible, and maybe I like to walk into banks with a ski mask on. It doesn't make me a bank robber, but you put the pieces together. So, and I'm not saying anything about this individual, but I'm just saying, like, from an objective perspective, tattoos are a huge part of gang culture. It's how you mark your affiliation. It's how you see someone on the yard and you read them and you know which gang they're a part of without even having to ask. And there's a deep symbolism to it, including things that you earn. There are many tattoos that are earned and not given, or earned and not just go to your artist and say, give me this. And you have to do something to get that. So in order to earn those tattoos, those patches, you had to put in the work. You have to go on a mission. You have to do something on behalf of your gang that earns you the cred to get that recognition on your body. And it's taken really seriously. And so that would not be something that you get casually done on the streets. And I'll give you a perfect example. A kid came in, a young punk, with a swastika on his chest. And real quick, the whites were like, all right, what'd you do to earn that? He was like, what are you talking about? I'm a fucking Nazi. And they were like, yeah, but did you put in the work? He's like, what do you mean? They're like, wait, you had to stab a black guy to get that swastika on your chest. Like and that's how it was in Southern California at least. And and they were like, so you have two options. You can do it, or we can get that off of you. He's like, I ain't stabbing nobody. And they were like, fine. And so basically, they took him in the cell. They took it and they friggin' carved that swastika right off his chest. So I just want to inform like the gravity of certain gang tattoos, certain symbols are pretty fucking serious.
Okay, so what are the things you have to do to get the tattoos for how people are being profiled to be shipped out of the country?
When you go to any facility, any serious facility, the first thing that happens at intake is they strip you buck naked and they come in with like a high-end Nikon with a macro lens on it, and they photograph every tattoo on your body from every angle. It's like 50 shots, minimum per person. And so, I mean, when I first did that to me, I was like, what's going on? And then they were like, well, what gang is that? And they pointed to this tattoo of my mother. Eh, and I'm like, well, that's my family, which ironically, I guess, is like the Hispanic gang's called La Raza, which is family.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they have a huge. I would assume it's in some database, where they're correlating it, or maybe not, given the primitivism of the government, but it could be.
So what does
Uh,
it mean to have a Michael Jordan jump man on your a tattoo?
well, maybe it means you're a fan of Michael Jordan, or maybe it means that when your car jumps, when your gang jumps, you jump with them. Like you have the option: are you going to fight or flight? So like you jump, I jump. That's something that we say, or ride or die. It basically means like I am ready to jump into the fray at a moment's notice, and I'll do it with the excellence and competence of Michael Jordan. I will jump right in. And the most common place I saw the Jordan tattoo was like on the cheek or right here on the neck. But essentially
Mm.
like some place where it's right out front. Yeah.
And what about the hummingbird?
I don't have a tremendous amount of personal experience with the hummingbird. But and then this is the curious part. Like when they said on New York Times, they said a hummingbird, and I'm thinking of like Audubon drawings of a hummingbird, like a beautiful, colorful, like well sketched. As soon as I Googled it, it was all like Aztec designs. And the hummingbird is in fact the symbol or the logo of the Aztec god of war. And so it's allegedly a soldier of the MA or Mexican mafia.
Mm.
It
Okay.
used to be a butterfly, and the butterfly kind of got busted, so now it's a hummingbird. Maybe he does like birds. There's,
Hmm.
it's total possibility.
Right. And so when you were in prison, like what were the tattoos that you saw and what were some of the ones you talked about that you like what was the culture around tattoos?
Well, I mean, so in prison, a lot of it is like, how do you pass the time? And a great way to pass the time is just get tattoos. Like, if you were to have a full sleeve or a full back tattoo, that might be 12 sessions with your artist or more, depending on the depth of color and ink and things. So that might be hard to do in the real world, especially if you're busy. But in prison, you got time, so why not just get a full back tattoo? Why not get a full sleeve? Why not? And I mean, you can see, like, I would say prisoners definitely have more tattoos than the general population. And
How
it's
do they even do that? I mean, you don't have the machines, you don't have like how do you keep it clean? How do you even get the ink? Like how do you actually get a tattoo in prison? It's not like they have a tattoo parlor there. So how does that actually work?
let's start with like jail tattoos because that's how I started my
Okay.
career as a tattoo artist. I had a cellie,
Okay.
and he saw my art because I like to draw. And he was like, "Oh my god, dude, you're gonna give me a tattoo." I was like, I don't know anything about giving tattoos." He's like, "You can draw, you can tattoo. It's just like drawing on me with a needle." I'm like, "Oh, why the fuck not? I'll give it a shot." And I said, "Well, you said, like, where are we gonna get the stuff?" He's like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna make it all." So again, this was in jail, much more limited resources than prison. But he took one of our pencils and we made some string from the sheets. And then we got some staples just from like forms and things and sharpened the staples for like half an hour each. So they're like needles, and broke the pencil in half, stuck the needles into the pencil, tied it with the string. And that was our tattoo gun for hand pick work. So I was like just hammering these needles into his face and neck. Um, but the, the ink, um, so we got from commissary, we got a hold of some Vaseline and lit it on fire. You can, that's a whole other thing, but you can make fire in cells. It's not that hard, as long as you have a battery. And so lit the gasoline on fire and put a paper bag, like our lunch bag, on top of it. And so the smoke rises and it puts pure carbon on the lid of the paper bag. And you scrape that off and that's black. And you mix it with like a little bit of soap, and there's your ink.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, so the first thing he asked me for is like, I want a Nordic rune for Thor, like right here on my eye. I was like, oh man, this is sketch. Like, I'm just gonna be, but he's like, come on, do it, motherfucker. So I just like, pegged his face up against the wall like this with my hand and went like, just stabbing him right by the eye,
Whoa,
until I had the rune. Took about, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And he was happy with the work. So
thank God.
over the next month, I basically did he was bald, shaved clean, like most of us were. And so I did his entire head, like sides, top, back, and then both sides of his neck with like the ravens of Odin. Um,
Do you
all
have a
kind of
picture?
like, huh?
I need to see. We need to see a picture of that one.
I might have a drawing of some of the art. There's no photographs, obviously, but yeah, it was good work. I mean, I did a great job for sure. And it was amazing. Huge
He didn't.
run. Huh?
He didn't get mad at you, or it didn't end well because you tattooed him.
No, 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 he didn't. No, I mean, he was really pleased with the tattoos.
And then you have a tattoo that you got in prison, right?
Oh, yes, I do.
Let me see. That whole thing?
That whole thing right there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does that say?
That, there we go. It's a little better.
Whoa. Uh-huh.
So that actually is a Bible verse. It says Gregorite in a very highly stylized Greek, which I designed to match my other ink. And Gregorite is from Mark 13:32, where the disciples asked Jesus, "Hey, what kingdom of heaven? Great. Where is it, and when is it coming?" And he just says, "Well, first of all, I don't even know. Only God knows. But I'll tell you this: like, it's going to come quick and hard, and so keep vigilant, or you're going to miss it. So
Mm-hmm.
don't look to the left, don't look to the right, don't look up, don't look down. Just be aware of what's going on. Be vigilant and watch." And that word "watch" and "vigilant" is Gregorite, which happens to be my name, or the origin of my name. So
Wow.
it felt right to, get that as a mark of my time.
Okay, very cool. But if you wouldn't be deported based on your tattoos, you don't have anything that's on the list of questionable tattoos.
Not that they can read.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die.